Thank you, sir.
Nearly every outfit I was ever in the Army,
See over there.
when it
Thank
come to bumping guns, I became the big gun. I was always out front in things
Listen,
like,
Miss Morris.
She's wanting some
things
attention.
like instruction and public speaking and all that kind of stuff. I've been shipped out to all kinds of affairs to talk to people. Where are the pictures?
I can't believe that cat took your spot.
Listen, Miss Press, move it. You.
She must like that chair.
Oh,
Why don't you
that
just
does
pop
it.
in here?
Okay,
in there.
there you go.
Well, this was made at Fort Riley. That's the 3rd Battalion of the 87th Infantry, and that's the staff up front there.
My God.
So you were the executive officer for the battalion.
Mm-hmm.
Winchester, Kentucky.
You had the requisite stare down.
All
Yeah, oh,
captains
yes,
do.
yes.
Knew how to carry his eyebrows.
And I learned how to run a battalion there because this guy was the laziest character you ever saw in your life.
He was lazy.
He was lazy. So that I got a lot of good experience there.
Well, it's true of most things. If you are in a position where you're not being held back, and to be successful, you got to stretch the boundaries of your envelope, so to speak.
Yeah. There's some field of pictures of me in here somewhere, but I can't seem to find them.
Now, where was this at?
Fort Riley, Kansas.
Okay. So now what year did you go into the service?
39.
39? Well, what year did Denville go in?
Oh. 42.
42?
Well,
So you had a couple of years under your belt before the war even came along.
Yeah.
And then you had another year under your belt at Iceland before you went into any sort of active duty, is that?
Well, what do you call it?
Well, I mean, where you were under fire, where you were in a theater of operation or something.
Well, I was under fire the first time sometime in May of 1944. I think I told you about it, the little guy, the red-headed freckles.
Yeah.
Nose.
No, I didn't necessarily mean you were getting shot at, but I meant as far as being in the theater of operation.
Well, Iceland immediately became a theater of operations. The Germans had bombed it before we were there. And actually, if somebody ever
I
writes
guess it is a strategic, I mean, it's a desolate place, but it's in a strategic position.
Oh, yes. If somebody ever writes it up, Iceland was one of the great deceptions of that war. The Germans could have taken it any time they wanted it, and we knew that. God, I tell you, I had nightmares over that because the only thing they had to do was come and kill us all, and they had the means to do it.
Yeah.
And the only advantage we had the M1 rifle before we went up there.
Mhm.
But we still didn't have the new helmet.
Mm-hmm.
We had the old flat World War I. God, I hated those.
All those old
Oh,
doughboy-like helmets.
Yeah,
that
did
look
I
like
hate. I hated those things.
Could use those for a frisbee.
Not handily.
But they were shaped more like a frisbee.
Oh yeah, they were. Anyhow, I know one night, well, they ran canned warfare up there to drill the troops. And oh, there's one. There's one. I don't know why I didn't find it. Sharon when she was about 4 years old, I guess.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she marked.
She
it
put
so-
a, looks like she put a halo over your head.
Mm-mm. No, she marked it so if I know where I was. That was during a live fire exercise that I put on for the regiment.
Mhm.
Damn good, if I have
What
to
are they
say
doing
so.
here?
I don't know, I have to look.
Looks like we got a grandstand or something.
Yeah, that's me in front of the grandstand all the way over to the other end.
The one standing up on the right?
Yeah. And these two pictures are the same here. And this is me here.
Huh. But this is him here.
Yeah.
But what are you doing there at the grandstand?
Let me see. I'm teaching them something.
What you doing?
Like I say, this is something that I got to do a lot of. I don't know whether there are any other pictures in here or not.
And he does, he's got the same stare.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
The stare. Make my day.
And then as you said, you volunteered for officer training to get away from Iceland.
Oh yeah. When I left there, that was the only motive I had, was to get off that pile of rocks.
That's funny. I don't know if you've ever read. He's quite a character, and I'm sure there's as much bullshit in it as anything else. But Chuck Yeager's autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
When he initially volunteered for the Army Air Corps, he said it wasn't because he had any aspirations to fly. It's because he wanted to get the hell out of the particular situation he was in at the time.
Yeah, I can believe that. There was a lieutenant colonel who was in charge of the board that interviewed me, who eventually became a major general in command of the entire division towards the end of the war. I have a tape that one of the guys made of him,
Mm-hmm.
where he sort of runs by his entire military career. It's quite interesting.
That's cool.
The guy who copied the tape for me has since died. They're doing that rather rapidly these days. I mean, they're going fast. Anyhow, I couldn't tell him that the only reason.
You couldn't be completely forthright.
No, I had to tell him I was going there because I can be the best damn second lieutenant this Army has ever seen. And it turned out I think I might have been. But,
But that wasn't your primary motive.
no, I wanted to get off that island, no. But you know something? I wasn't in OCS more than 10 or 12 days until being a second lieutenant was the most compulsive thing in my life.
It got in your blood.
Oh, God, did I want to finish that. I was one of 3 guys in my platoon who hadn't finished high school.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 wiped out fast. And then they started wiping out people from Dartmouth
Hmm.
and Colgate. Wow. And you know this, but that time I wanted this so bad I
Yeah,
could taste
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I don't know why they teach gunnery and such things, because every cluster of ammunition has packed with it all of the settings that it takes.
All the instructions. are
All
there.
you don't
Yeah.
have to know anything to shoot it. If you know what, you have to know how to run the gun. But, I had not finished high school. I did not know geometry. I did not know algebra. And I tried to fill those gaps in enough to get by. I made a D.
You needed to get the part of it that, so that at least as far as its application went, you could deal with it and
Yeah.
make it happen.
Now, it was axiomatic. No one ever survived the board. When your academic standing went down far enough, they called you before a board.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially you were asked to defend the proposition that you should be permitted to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever did, that anyone knows of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, shortly after the gunnery fiasco, I got notice that I would appear. And, God, I
Thought it was over.
Now, in the OCS classes, everybody rotates through every position in a rifle company. And at that particular time, I was first sergeant. And one of the things the first sergeant does is calisthenics to the company, you know, the morning exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I had done a lot of this, and I was good at it. But anyhow, I got on the platform, and when I got up above the company where I can see out in back of the company is all of the big dogs and little dogs in the world.
Uh-huh.
Leslie J. McNair, 4-star general, commanding the Army Field Forces. Lieutenant General Bonesteel, commanding general of the Infantry Center.
Hmm.
Now, a lieutenant general has a colonel or an aide.
Mhm.
A general has a brigadier general.
Mm-hmm.
There were all kinds of stars and bars.
Yeah, it probably looked like a starry night sky
Oh,
out there.
Well, I'm nothing if I can't perform for an audience.
You turned it on, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I knew that what I had to do, I could do perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I finished that, and we went through the day's routine, and I got back to the barracks, and everybody has a pigeonhole, you know, where you get your mail. So I go to my mailbox, and I pull out a slip, and it says, the commanding general of the Army Field Forces has asked me to inform you that he regards your job this morning in the calisthenics as superb. Permit me to add my congratulations to this.
Well, that's great.
General J.P. Bonesteel. And I felt pretty good about that. I stuck it in my pocket, pulled out the other thing, and it said, your appointment with the Board of Inquiry has been canceled.
Oh, that's good, that's good.
Well, you know, they keep the sweat on you all the time, right up until the last minute. When you get ready to go to the auditorium to graduate, you've got on an officer's uniform except the insignia of rank. And we're out on the company parade, and company commander comes out and he calls a guy out and tells him that he's not going to graduate. And he calls another one to graduate. And then they call another one out and they go back into the company CP, and it's a while. And company commander comes back and says, everyone who is here now will graduate. Wow. Really appreciated that.
Yeah.
His name was Neil Dow. Been dead many, many, many years. But you would be in the barracks at night, you know, just before lights out, and you look up, and one of the tactical officers, they called him, you know, the bird dog, is up there and he's making notes. You were under pressure all the time, all the time. Another one.
Yeah, I'll take another.
Okay. And I really think that the advantage that I had of all of the training I had before I ever saw a shot in anger, you know. In retrospect, I'm sure that's how come I lived over the war in one piece. I'm fond of saying if everything that ever hit you wounded you, you'd look like a sieve.
Yeah.
So I've been hit.
Yeah.
But if you don't fix me the first time, I'm not going to give you another chance.
Yeah.
I will be somewhere else.
That's right. Thank you very much. Bless you.
But I don't know how many training cycles I had run before I was ever sent to war. I don't remember how many training cycles I was in. I was damn near a self-propelled bundle of conditioned reflexes by the time I got there.
Yeah. Well, I guess really, I mean, as you say, nobody can speak to it that's never dealt with it, but I would think, and this is just by logic, that the only way you can really deal with some of the situations you could find yourself in is you had to be a bundle of reflexes, because if you stopped to really think about what in the hell you were dealing with, you'd be pissing in your pants and not getting anything.
Well, I've told this to a few people, and I'm sure most people do not believe it. You know, you see a machine gun, you know, they swing around, they cut people down like that's hogwash.
Yeah.
The fastest firing machine gun, when a bullet leaves the tube, it is 400 feet behind the bullet in front of it.
Yeah, so it's a pretty wide pattern.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a picture of Daddy's service picture? I'll have to
I
scan
don't
it
think
and
so.
send it.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
he has some, the way he,
Look at
the
this
way
eyebrow.
he, I know, it's the same eyebrow as your dad's.
Um,
The same lift.
yeah, that's the Adams eyebrow.
Wow, then where did Dad get it?
Huh?
Where did
Well, he got
Dad get
it.
it?
He got it.
He got it from the Adams.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had always known that it is theoretically possible to run through the stream of fire of a machine gun wide open. And this was in the Po Valley, flat as a house floor. I mean, it's
It's like a tabletop, huh?
oh man. As a matter of fact, we had maps that had all of the German emplacements in the Po Valley on it, and that's the only way we could find our way around.
Oh,
It's just no terrain features,
Yeah,
you know. Anyhow, I'm standing on the side of the road. I'm about to go over there, and I see these tracers come down in front of me. One of the new German machine guns, they fired about 480 a minute. And oh boy, all he needs is one click. And I'm cut off at the knees. And that's the way that's the way a machine gun works. It doesn't do that.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
you do is start in the ankles and it automatically winds up in the head.
yeah.
I know what he's fixing to do to me. And
You're in a feet don't fail me now position.
that's right. And when I started out, he started out, and I went through that stream.
That's funny, sure, it's got halo.
You probably had bruises on your rear end where the heels were hitting. Elmo described for me the other night the first German soldier he ever seen. You know, and you'd think it would be a big hulking monster of a man.
What was it, a
Oh,
weasel?
we were sold by our own propaganda.
Yeah.
We really were. I was a great big blonde brute.
What was he, a little wimp?
Oh God. We were on our way up to our battalion. There were about 6 of us. And we're all commissioned officers, you know, we are fairly well trained.
Uh-huh.
And somebody shoots at us. Well, we do the right thing. We spread out and return fire. And we advance on the position we think he's in, and pretty shoot a little white flag, and here it comes. You remember, you've seen movies, you know, where some people wear a helmet and it looks like a skull cap.
So what-
Sometimes the helmet barely fits on the
Yeah.
big man's head.
That's what it is?
And other times it looks like a washing tub down over his head.
Yeah, it's helmets are one size.
Oh, Lord.
So here comes this little character out here, and he looks like he's got a parasol on his head. One of these big German coal buckets, you know. And here he comes, and he's got his hands up, and he comes up to me. He must have been 5'3", anyway.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And he could have been as much as 16 or 17. And he's crying, and his nose is running.
Redheaded and freckle faced.
Red-headed and freckled face. And I looked at him and I laughed. This is Superman, you know.
I
And
died.
And I'm laughing at him, and this hurts his little
Yeah, I'm
feelings.
sure.
Yeah, but how could you not? See this little guy coming in his big hat?
Yeah.
Elbows looking down upon him.
Oh yeah, he was just, I mean, he's way down there.
I said, did you see a guy with a gun anywhere? Possibly.
You know, the guy that, you know, a group of officers get together, let you compare date of rank and decide who's in charge, and the guy who was in charge was a fellow by the name of Trubenbach. Trubenbach would make me look like I'd been sick.
Oh, really?
Oh God, he was huge. He was big enough that he was killed by an anti-tank mine. Now those are set,
The weight setting's a lot higher. on
oh, a
something
lot
like-
higher.
Yeah.
And you know, it was an awful way to go because he stepped on that and it stripped the flesh off his leg and hit way up. I mean, it just, but he was fully conscious for about 6 or 7 hours.
Oh, goodness.
You know, one thing combat does to you is to charge your adrenaline up.
Yeah.
And if the adrenaline is up, of course, you have a certain immunity to shock.
Mm-hmm.
And you can live over so damn much, or
Yeah.
you can live a long
Well, it's
time.
the stories you hear, you know, of, well, in fact, you remember Ernest Olive? So little man, he was maybe 5'1", 5'2", very,
Maybe weighed 80 pounds. something
maybe
like that.
80 pounds soaking wet. And, he was where they were working on a car and it fell on his brother. And this little 80 pounds soaking wet, 5'2" fella picked this car up off of his brother.
Mhm.
You know, just with the adrenaline rush and the fear.
Well, women have picked automobiles up off their kids. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
It's a man who is scared is about as easy to kill as a mad dog.
Mm-hmm.
And it is amazing how easy it is to kill somebody who doesn't have his adrenaline up.
Yeah.
We had a sergeant by the name of Tyson that I never will figure out how he died. He was in an inside room, like that pantry
Mm-hmm.
there. There was a door, of course, but no windows or anything. The shell that came in was far enough away that no one found it necessary to flinch.
Huh.
You know, it's like a couple hundred yards over there. Here, you know, nobody bothered him. A few seconds later, Tyson dropped dead.
Hmm.
And he had a little blue spot
Back under his arm.
on it, right there.
Huh.
A T-90 piece of that shell had somehow gotten into that house, through everything, come through there, and hit him in an inside room and killed him.
Huh.
But his adrenaline is not up.
Yeah, he wasn't charged up and ready to fight.
Denville told me that he saw a man get up and crawl with his brains hanging out. And I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that. Had a guy working for me one time that had a steel plate in his head and had his whole forehead knocked off. He got that at Normandy on the beach. And he said that it knocked him completely cold. He didn't know anything from the time he got onto the beach until he coming to, and he could hear some women talking. And he hears one of them say, "Is he dead?" And another one says, "Yeah, he's dead." Damn, I must have died and gone to heaven or something. And he's got a wet rag laying over his face, and he said, "You know, I better get this off and tell these women that I'm still with them." So he picks it up, and when he picks it up, two of the women, 3 women there, and 2 of them faint dead awake. He's holding his brain in his hand.
Oh,
shit.
Pete.
Ew.
That's something.
This building had hit him on the side and just popped his forehead right off.
Huh.
And I guess the guys that landed at Normandy had their adrenaline up.
Yeah.
Well, once it opened up on them,
Yeah.
I'm sure it did. They were going into a
Well, you know,
maelstrom.
Ambrose, Stephen Ambrose, was up at the college a while back. I wasn't impressed with his presentation at all. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask him about this, and I thought, hell, I'm not going to believe what he told me anyway. Anyhow, I've known a lot of guys who made that landing, a bunch. But I've never known a single man who landed there with nothing in front of him but sand. Which makes me suspicious
Mm-hmm.
that the first 2 or 3 boatloads that got off there were dead to a man.
Hmm.
Never heard a single man claim that, you know, when he got there, they were cringing behind the rocks and the shit had hit the fan, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Never heard anybody say he got off with nothing in front of him but the beach.
Hmm.
I think they must have saturated the first few boatloads.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
know,
and I know it's overwrought. It's pretty effective for the movie. I mean, we've got Private Ryan on DVD, and I don't know if you've seen it or not.
yeah, I've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm not that impressed with it.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was bad enough for me, just thinking of them having
Well, well, as I said, I'm sure it's somewhat overwrought because I think they probably fired more ammunition in the opening sequence of that than they probably had available in the whole theater.
And I've told this to people, you know, you
I mean, you
cannot.
conserve ammunition, you
when
don't
you get
expel it
that
like.
level of fire going, somebody is going to win that war momentarily.
That's right, because you're going to run out of ammunition.
Because the basic load for a rifleman at that time was 80 rounds. Now you can be sure they had some extra on them.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly likely that they had more than 160 rounds. Now the M1 was a semi-automatic. It would pour them out as fast as you could pull that damn trigger. And when it got to the 8th round, it bing, you know, the clip would go out. You put another one in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow. I have seen that much fire going on a few times for
Very short
a
duration.
very short time because you just don't have the ammunition to keep going. Secondly, if it's even almost effective, somebody is about to win. That's all there is to it. Somebody's about to win.
Well, you would think that level of fire would be just, you'd be at an utter point of desperation.
Yeah.
You're laying down everything you can.
Well, the Germans used to do that when they were about to go.
Uh-huh.
They would fire every damn piece they had on position.
As hard and as fast as
I
they
mean,
could,
they would. You knew when they were leaving because they would
clean it up.
Oh,
They wouldn't have
man,
none of it.
would they lay it down on
Yeah, yeah.
you. But we caught on to that, and we just wait and let them shoot it up, and then we're going after them.
Yeah.
Mm. But there were some technical difficulties with that. You know, dislodging that mortar safety pin.
On and manually throwing it.
Oh, come on.
Well,
If you-
Hollywood has to take liberties with stuff.
Well, you know, I don't know, well, I guess there's no reason you should know this. There was a guy who became known as Commando Kelly.
I've heard the name. I'm
He's
not
from
sure.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
You know, he died on the streets down there, became an alcoholic. He died. As a matter of fact, it was his death that persuaded Congress to put a stipend on the Congressional Medal of Honor. They, you know, because he died essentially bombed in the streets. Anyhow, this was at Anzio. He was in the 3rd Division, and he was supposed to have slammed these things down, knocked the pens out, threw them out on the Germans who were in a courtyard below him. Now, nearly everybody who had been to war knew exactly what he had done. Hand grenades come in a fiber container, like a beer can or something, except it's a fiber thing, and there's a tape that you can open the top, and the grenade is in there. Now, if you pull the grenade up and pull the pin out and leave the grenade in that container, it won't fire. The lever can't come off.
Can't come loose. Yeah.
Can't come loose. Now, you can take the pins out of a dozen of those things and set them up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could just dump them out just all you
Just as fast
or
as you
you
want.
could throw them out of a light plane. You can put a little streamer on it so that turn it upside down and it'll fall out.
Mm-hmm.
And you get air burst all over the place with that thing. You
Oh,
just throw it-
jeez. Rain and shrapnel.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody who didn't know where the mess hall was,
Came up with the mortar story.
yeah, let's make it a good one.
Yeah.
And it got all the way to Congress before anybody figured out that they had made a bad boo-boo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now,
You
If anybody wants to help, that'd be great.
She said if anybody wants to help, that'd be great.
Be
That sounded
greatly
like a,
appreciated.
it sounded like a
couldn't tell
hint.
where she was coming from.
I didn't either, I go to the back door.
I'm trying to make it all in one trip.
Daddy says that lazy man load.
You'd have to have an arm about 12
Right.
foot long
Right?
to make that, ooh, thank you, honey.
I'm still taking some down too. This part goes back, I forgot.
I have forgotten. What kind of foot-pounds it takes to arm that thing. But, it was not designed to be used as an alternative hand grenade.
Oh, well, that's, I have no doubt of that. In fact, that would seem like it, in some respects, would be a hazard.
Well, if it were designed that way, a goodly number of them would never get to the front.
Yeah.
Because the way those fuses are made, and that's true of all fixed projectile, the way those fuses are made, there is no way you can handle that shell rough enough
To set
make
it off.
fall.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to rent sometime that movie Enemy at the Gates that we were telling you about. I'm sure you'll be able to pick it apart too, but it's a relatively entertaining movie. And I had never heard of the protagonist in it. Apparently, he is he's like a hero in Russian history because of what he did in the Battle of Stalingrad. His sniper rifle apparently is on display in the museum in Moscow. He was a hero of communism, so to speak, you know, because of his defense of the fatherland or whatever you want to call it.
Did anybody let the cat in? She's probably chomping at the bit. Ah! Oh, well,
I haven't seen the cat.
she's outside.
Oh, is she? Yeah, and you're right, she probably is chomping at the bits.
Well-
Roasting.
Considering I'm better for a while.
If I had a little sheet of paper,
Oh, no sign of the cat?
I can show you how that fuse is made.
There you
And
go.
this is the fuse that's
Do you have a
used
pencil?
on all artillery shells.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, as far as I know, all fuses are interchangeable. They screw into the end of the gadget, and light shells are well, go back to the beginning. There are these types of munitions. It's what's called fixed. A fixed round is like a rifle cartridge.
It's just
Comes
it's just
with
a hunk of
load.
lead or a
It
hunk of
comes-
whatever.
It comes ready, it'll load and shoot.
Yeah.
Now, anything over about 100 millimeters, you're dealing with a round that's a little too heavy
Okay,
to handle.
I'm going to.
So we have what's called a semi-fixed.
So there's a certain amount of assembly required.
Yes.
Okay.
The powder is packed in the casing,
Oh, this is Claire's too, isn't it?
and the fuse is packed separately,
Call her mom to see if she-
and the round is packed separately. And the reason for that is that there's different types of fuses in use, like a fuse delay, fuse quick,
Mm-hmm.
or
I was gonna ask Mark if she ate the
proximity fuse,
turkey.
Mm-hmm.
radar fuse.
Yeah.
turkey sandwich.
No.
I'm gonna set the table, and then from that point on, when we eat, is somebody else's problem.
Okay.
You're a dog.
You're not
a
gonna
dog.
feed us?
I didn't say that.
No, I
said-
meant physically.
Feed.
Oh,
feed us.
yeah. No,
No.
I'm not gonna push it down your gullet.
There is the unfixed round,
Mm-hmm.
which comes with the heavy stuff, the real heavy stuff. 155 millimeters and above is unfixed. Naval guns are
Yeah,
unfixed.
that's what I was thinking of, naval artillery.
And the reason, of course, is that there's simply no way to handle a round like that all put together.
Yeah.
So the powder bags, there's no casing for it.
Yeah, I remember seeing they're just like it looks like a drum of powder in a canvas bag or of some sort.
You got it, you got it. So the detonator and the powder and the projectile are all different entities.
Mhm.
Now, those items that come with the fuse, that fuse is, I wish I could draw better. So you have the,
That's the tip there.
yeah, and this is and that's the firing pin. And there's springs on that so that it stays up there unless it hits something. And beneath this is what's called a slide detonator. Now, right through here is a detonator that looks just exactly like the detonator in your shotgun shell.
Mm-hmm.
And beneath this is a powder crane. Notice that this is not lined up with the firing pin.
Okay.
There's a hole through here, and if you
I thought you were just a bad drawer. I didn't know
no,
that.
if you
It's
pound
intentional.
on this, that firing pin will go through that hole, and nothing will happen.
Yeah.
Now over here is a plunger and a spring.
Mm-hmm.
And through here is a weighted pin held in place by a spring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called the setback pin. The arming wire, the outside of this thing, is a wire that goes right through that thing.
Like a cotter pin, it holds in place.
No, it's a wire actually.
But does it operate similar to a cotter pin?
No,
Okay.
it is a length of wire, and there's a ring on it, much like a key ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be, pulled, or nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. You can fire that thing.
But when you pull that, does it go through? When you pull that, it allows this to move and allows that to move, and it lines everything up. Is that?
Well, just a minute here. Now, through here is the, wait a minute, where did I put that safety pin? The safety pin is on the other side of this, coming through the
Oh.
slide detonator.
From the other side.
From the other side.
Okay.
Okay. This is
Perpendicular to that arm
Yeah.
bar.
Now, let's make this a mortar shell.
Okay.
Now, this has a thing at the base that's much like a shotgun cartridge. And if you just drop it down in the tube.
That's what makes it go.
Yeah, and it hits firing pins at the bottom of the tube. That shotgun cartridge will put it out there, 500 or 600 yards. But there are fins on this too,
Mhm.
and there are checked areas on this where you can put powder increments. And you can put them on, it'll drive that thing on out there to about 4,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a little, you've got it packed in every case of ammunition. And
Got all your
all
instructions,
the
everything you,
instructions, everything.
everything you want to know about mortars, but
Okay,
we're
you
afraid to ask.
drop this thing into the, before you drop it in, you pull the arming wire.
Mhm.
If you don't, all you do is send a missile out there and it'll go
It goes clunk.
right into
Goes
the
clunk.
It won't do anything.
Could hit somebody on the head, it might do
Oh,
something.
you know, that happened once in my outfit. I got hit by a
Oh, no
mortar shell,
kidding.
but nobody had pulled the arming wire on it. It hurt bad. Anyhow, pull the arming wire, you drop it in, and as soon as this thing fires, it abruptly takes off in the other direction. Now, here's what happens.
When it takes off, the weight pulls it back.
This thing stays in place as long as it can. It pulls it straight out of here. Now, nothing can happen until it leaves the tube.
Mhm.
When it leaves the tube on the other side here, the safety pin
Flies
flies
out.
out. And when the safety pin flies out, the slide detonator can go to this position.
Mhm.
And when it does that, the powder train is complete. There's a powder train down through here with a thing that looks exactly like a dynamite
So
cap.
at that point, when it hits, you got an inline ignition that,
You've got an inline ignition and it'll blow.
yeah. So your point is that in Private Ryan, when they went poof, if they would have done that, all that would have happened would have been a solid projectile that wasn't armed to fire would have went sailing out of their hands.
I
God
don't,
knows where it would have went.
this may, what they were doing may have detonated the base.
That's my point.
I just don't know.
Yeah, because they were hitting it on the ground and then
Yeah,
throwing it.
Yeah. I don't know if it would have detonated the base, but it would not,
Wouldn't have done anything.
it
with
would not have pulled that setback there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm assuming from your description, the way this works is the force of it taking off allows that to pull back.
Right.
Exactly. And then
takes
at that
the-
point, and then once it clears the tube, the safety pin comes out
And everything is on.
and everything's gone. So you really had to be, unless he had a hell of an arm and
Yeah,
unless he
about
could
12 foot long. You could-
yeah, yeah, and unless he could get that safety pin to pop out,
Yeah. Nothing can happen.
nothing can happen.
Yeah.
But it made for good entertainment.
Yeah. There are some pictures in here that are part of the firing demonstration where this happened. This was an 81 millimeter crew that did this. Now with a mortar, you can settle that base plate and then take the sights off. So the sights can be damaged.
Yeah.
And then two guys can feed it.
Yeah.
And you can put,
You can lay
man,
it down.
you can put about 20 rounds in the air before the first one hits
It's
the
the
ground.
ground. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a good mortar crew, you can set up a company of mortars and you can, now wait a minute, no, that wasn't 81s, those were 4.2s, those are big mamas now. Yeah, that was the mortar company, the regimental mortar company. 105mm shell.
I always hated when I had to put this away. Even for,
What they did was got two of them in there at once.
Mm.
Now, I was lecturing the troops describing this, and I knew something had gone
I need
wrong
those two to go down and.
because the shell landed where no shell was supposed to land. And we had a code word to stop everything, and I waited, it didn't come on the speaker system, and I kept on doing my thing. But I knew something bad had happened.
hey, what's your wine glass?
What had happened, they put,
While one was dropping, they had the next one coming down.
so the one that's at the bottom starts up. And the gases put the other one out of the case, out of the tube. The one in the rear hits the one in front, its arm, and it goes off right in front of the mark.
Oh, jeez.
Sure, why not?
Starts the other one tumbling, it goes about 150 yards, and it was just a luck of the draw that it hits
Oh, you get the rest?
and fires. But hitting from the rear with the one that got the ooze provided enough
To
to set
drop.
up the inertia for the setback. That killed 6 men, wounded about 10.
Burnt myself just going. Wonder if that's hot.
Tore up 6 vehicles,
Oh, my goodness.
8 or 10 mortars. I mean, well, it popped up maybe from here to that fan and exploded right in front of them. Well, it was an administrative thing. The trucks aren't spread out, they're all
Yeah,
set
yeah,
out there.
yeah. You don't
Tore up
anticipate
everything.
something like that.
The investigator found that it was defective ammunition. But that's not what it was. Well, they do that all the time. I know. We had a tank blow up in Korea. And as soon as I walked up to it, I knew exactly what had taken place. Those tank shells have that fuse on it, okay? No way. I mean, if that shell goes off in that tube, don't pull my leg. I mean, that shell has come across a couple of oceans and it's been hauled on
Yeah,
trucks.
yeah.
It didn't get there if it could fire in that tube.
That's
You,
right.
you couldn't have gotten it there.
Yeah.
The barrel was splayed, you know. Yeah, I mean, it had blown up in the barrel. What had happened, they'd run it into the tank into a mud bank,
Plugged up the end of
plugged up the barrel,
it. That'll do it.
killed the whole damn crew and tore up the tank.
That'll do it. My Uncle Buck was real lucky. He came in the house one time and picked up a 12 gauge shotgun and ran outside to nail a hawk, a red-tailed hawk, and he didn't check the barrel or didn't do anything, just ran outside and throwed it up and fired it. And it had a mud dauber nest in the barrel.
Ooh.
Real similar event that
Yeah.
splayed the end of the barrel, and he was lucky it didn't hurt him any more than it did.
Yeah.
It skinned him up a little bit. My dad had to take a set of side cuts. The ribbon that runs down between the barrels was wrapped around my uncle's wrist. He had to cut it off his wrist.
Oh, awful.
My dad, after that though, he sawed it off, and he had to weld a couple of weights underneath of it to give it a little bit of balance. But it was a formidable little shotgun. After that, it just about mow grass.
Were your parents natives of Kentucky?
Yeah, my dad was born right there in McKinney'sburg, and so was my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
In fact, the bed we've got up in our attic was the bed my mom was born on.
And you was conceived on.
Was I conceived on that one too? I didn't know that. She must have told you that. She didn't share that with me.
Yep.
She didn't share that with me.
So, and what did your dad do?
He did several things. Most of the time I knew him, he was a mechanic that worked for the Board of Education. Growing up, he did some carpentering. He actually, for a period of time, he worked for I can't remember the name of the hotel. It was a hotel that they had a hotel on Hollywood Beach in Florida, and they had a hotel up in the Poconos, and he was a pastry chef.
Oh, a mechanic and a pastry chef.
Well, he wasn't a mechanic till I think probably in the he worked for the Board of Education for 42 years. When he was a pastry chef was when he was younger.
I see.
Yeah,
But see, Mark's father was a lot older than his mother.
yeah. Dad was
31 and she was 18.
no, he was 38 and she was 18. He was 20
Oh,
years.
really?
Yeah, he was 20 years older than she was. And he was 50 when I was born.
Mhm.
And so, but do you know both of his parents?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't know his dad real well. I had met him and he passed away that March.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We've been dating for probably
And what killed your dad?
heart
Heart
attack. Yeah, we'd been dating for about a year when Dad passed away.
Did your mother die of a heart attack too?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, both of my parents did.
yeah. They told me
And
when I went in with my cholesterol, they told me I had a crosshair on my chest unless I got my cholesterol straightened out.
Oh, gosh. Well, you kind of listen to that one.
Well, see, his dad had a major heart attack when Mark was younger, and then, you know, over the
Well,
years.
before I was born in 1955, he had a heart attack that he came back from, and I mean, he had it in 55. I wasn't born until I was 60, or until 60, and he didn't have any more trouble with it until
79.
it was later, maybe it might have been.
He was a freshman year in college.
No, it was my junior year, third year. I was living over on Bishop Street when he had a heart attack. He was 70, I guess it was. He
You
had a,
didn't have any sisters or brothers?
just me.
I remembered that.
The only brat.
Yep, I'm the only
Came
brat.
along late, and I didn't have any siblings, and my mother, I didn't have pregnancies either.
She didn't either.